have something in common. There's a shared interest here, and it's one of those rare opportunities where, you know, a great panel and loads of combined brain power and plant power backed up behind us. So by all means, ask questions as you wish. So enough from me. Again, thank you for coming, and I'm going to pass you over to Jencks, who is our landscape architect designer, who's really been responsible for taking a very loose idea of mine about 12 months ago and creating something tangible and visual from it. So over to you, Lily, for the chat.
Thank you. Hi. Yeah, so I'm a landscape architect and an architect, normally working in gardens outside and then buildings, interiors. And so this is the first time we were asked to do something in which we're hybridizing the two, which is very exciting, bring the outdoors in. It poses a certain number of challenges, but it's been a great learning process. I think we've got to a good place in which we can do more of these. And actually, in the last month, we've been asked to do more of these types of things, indoor planting schemes. That's because biophilia as a meme has become really a kind of one of the big memes of the moment. Biophilia is from a term from an ecologist really popularized by someone called E.O. Wilson, who was really obsessed by ants. He loved ants, and what he found really interesting about ants is they're the one animal that farms. We farm, humans farm, we cultivate things and have long-term plans. Also, ants farm. They work cooperatively in like the hive mind. And I love that kind of idea, just as a framing of biophilia, the love of the biome, and our love of natural systems, because it's super optimistic, and God knows we need optimistic thinking right now, generally, in terms of our kind of relationship with the environment. And so E.O. Wilson and other contemporary thinkers about biophilia have proven that human beings need the kind of connection to natural landscape, living systems, ecology. And you know, we all say, oh, that's kind of really obvious. Like probably most people in this room, if I asked you, would say yes. If I say, think of your favorite, most relaxing, calming space, probably will think of a landscape scene. And you know, now scientists have proven that that scene is very important. So the view of landscape behind us, the view, we found out is very important. That was the first thing. Roger Ulrich did work in a hospital looking at how views outside a window to a natural scene could decrease patients' time in a hospital, increase their decrease their recovery time. And that was just simply from looking outside, being connected to natural daylight, very important, and kind of the moving, changing seasons and fresh air. And more recent design hospital research has looked at actual plants in hospital environments. I'm talking about hospitals, I should say, because I work on some healthcare environments. I work with Maggie Centres, who develop standalone buildings for next to oncology units on NHS hospital grounds. If anyone has worked in the NHS, you know that like evidence-based and defining, like justifying budgets is super important, being able to justify spending some money on plants instead of a new MRI machine is very hard. But we realise long term that we need to have those conversations in hospital environments. So hospital environments now, they have proven as well that even plants indoors can decrease reliance on pain medication, which is really interesting. You know, so there's kind of evidence base in hospitals of what plants can do. That was not just looking after the patients, but also looking after the doctors and the nurses that were caring for the patients. They felt a greater sense of well-being and relaxation, and were therefore better able to look after the patients. And that important thing about the plants being indoors as well is they looked at air quality control. And part of the design in this space, when Matt was talking to us about this a year ago, and it was winter, and we thought, okay, we'll do an indoor garden in the summer. We want it to be native, we want it to be, you know, feel like it's part of the UK. We don't want it to be a tropical indoor hot house. It doesn't want to feel like Kew Gardens, as amazing as that is. We want something local that feels natural. So hence you've got a beech woodland behind us and ivy that you would see growing. So we looked at plants. NASA have done a great study, you've probably several of you know about that, about indoor quality, plants increasing air quality indoors. They have to keep air quality very fresh on their space missions, so they've looked at which plants could help the best. And the best plants aren't always necessarily the native UK ones. So the best ones that we found were the ivy and the ferns, which sit behind you. And then we had two other plant designs, plant choices that are the highest quality kind of air purifiers. So they're the non-native species here, which is mother-in-law's tongue, which is that one like that, some yellow edges to it. Greatest oxygen producer that we know, and cleans out some heavy metals from the air, and also the palms. So that was kind of the thinking, a bit of the thinking behind the design, having something mostly native, mostly seasonal as much as possible. We didn't want it to be a winter scene in here because we knew the greenery to do it, but and to have, I think the kind of in terms of the design here, having 3 different zones, just to have a slightly different experience. We talked about the savannah and how important that landscape is evolutionarily, that we wanted to be, humans mostly evolved in the savannah with open fields in which you could see predators coming. And so there's an idea of if there's an idea about expansion, maybe that we would have different types of ecologies represented in those spaces. So I think probably that's it.